If you haven't done it already, we are going to be giving you, we're going to be doing a wheel of names. So we've got some prizes up here. So if you crack your code, not only do you get the ability to come up and get a prize, but you get a gift. It's about a 30-page plus report that's about your favorite subject. Who's your favorite subject, guys? Point to me, point to yourself and say, oh, that's me. That is me. Yes, it is. So what you want to do is go ahead and crack the code so that you will understand why people will buy into you and why they won't. And it's all based on artificial intelligence. And yesterday we learned a lot about artificial intelligence because we were here to hear some of the designer tracks that introduce the AI concept. The beauty of the AI that we run, it is run with empathy. Why? Because our AI is based on a methodology called BANK. Codebreaker Technologies is putting this out. We actually were invited to the United Nations for AI for Good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to how you can learn how to get more yeses instead of nos. Does that intrigue you? Yeah, I hope so, because it intrigued me about 10 years ago. How's that? Dr. Eric and I have been certified and licensed as trainers in this methodology. And what I'd like to do is you're going to spend about 60 minutes with me, so I'm going to give you a little bit about me. Is that okay? Yes. Thank you. My name is Mamie Lamley. I am a certified and licensed trainer in Codebreaker Technology. I'm also an international speaker, so I go all over the world. And the reason why I go all over the world is this. My mission is to lead, teach, and inspire 21 million global impact leaders around the world. Why? Because I believe that we have a story to tell. And women, this is about you because that's what I travel the world for. Taking stories, allowing them to actually step into what they want so that they can have what they have. What they want to have. What we're going to be doing is, you can see the agenda back there. We're going to be talking about what is biology. And I'm going to have my partner come up very soon. But what I'd like you to do is just understand this. Keep your mind open. What is that? Open. Because AI scares people. AI is being welcomed. And AI has a whole different facet. And I'm hoping that you're going to be open to hearing what we have to say. Dr. Eric, you want to come on back?
Thank you. Appreciate that. And so we're excited to share with you this idea of using AI, particularly to have a greater influence, have a greater impact, and obviously maybe have some more income. Would any of you like to have more income too? If you could leverage a tool to make you do that, make more money in less time. So we're going to be talking about how to do that with this tool. And when we talk about this, and I should start out, I'm really passionate about this because I have spent the greater part of my life fascinated with high performers and what differentiates organizations that outperform their competitors and individuals that are high performing, whether they're in the corporate world or they're athletes, doesn't matter. And that had led me to be sort of a back-to-school type of guy. I got my PhD at CU Boulder in business administration. Never thought I would go on for an advanced degree, but I found like I just want to learn more and figure this out in terms of what are the game-changing strategies that you can use. And then after getting my PhD, I was actually a professor teaching business strategy. So I'm a business strategist. I'm always on the lookout for game-changing tools that can really help companies go from where they are to where they want to be in shorter time frames. And so this is a tool, and then I actually had over a decade of experience as a business school dean. And one of the universities I was at, we actually had a major in sales. There's only about 30 schools in the nation that have a major in sales. So I got up close to looking at sales and what's going on. And it wasn't until after, well after that particular role, and then I was the chief academic officer and provost type positions as well, that I learned about this system. And the science behind it. How many of you are interested in a little backstory about this system and the science behind it? A couple people are, okay. All right, well, just a quick thing about it. If you think about personality and personas, how many of you have taken a personality assessment before? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, most of you had. Personality science is nothing new, really. or not very new. It dates back to Hippocrates, the father of medicine, who came up with the theory of the four temperaments. He was probably one of the earlier ones, 2,500 years ago. And he said, when you treat people different based on their temperament, you'll get better outcomes. Obviously, there's a lot of advances in medicine now where we're using and really personalizing medicine in a way that we probably didn't imagine. But the thing about it is with the science, there's a lot of assessments that have been created based on that idea of different temperaments. And what differentiates this from others is that it is actually based on values. That's why we talked about persona-based values for this session. And BANK is an acronym, and we'll talk about each of these different personality types or frameworks, personas, in a few minutes. And it's really about blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge. And the missing link with all these other assessments, and I've used many of them. We used them with a lot of executive programs and team building and leadership development in organizations, with exec ed programs to help people understand themselves. Most of them are developed to do that, and they are tapping into a lot of psychological traits and characteristics. The primary difference with this is the missing link for all those and all the experience I had over decades is not one ever really related to making more money, having a greater impact. Yes, there were team building events. People left, rah, 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 and they went back and they were like, oh, even posting things on people's doors, trying to figure out what does it mean? Like, what do I do differently? Have any of you ever been in an organization that did that? And do you remember any of it? You use it? No? Okay. This is the one that I have found that is easy to implement and actually use right away, and you will not forget it. And that's what I think Einstein said. Any fool can complicate things, but it takes a genius to simplify it or things. And that's ultimately what they've done with this system. And the missing link has always been not the psychology of personality, but the biology, the science of buying behavior. Why do people buy something? And whether it's buying a product, a service, why do they buy into an idea or a concept that you have? How many of you hope to maybe do a pitch one day? Maybe raise some funds. Okay, some of you may have already done that, right? So this skill set translates because you're always selling no matter what you do. And again, if you did not get, did everyone get a flyer when you came in with this link? Okay, safe to move on? Because again, we'll be doing a little drawing in a minute on these codes. But your bank code, basically, there's four different personas. And I want you to be clear that you're not just one type. And that's the other thing I like about the system. This was developed to understand the other person. Unlike most of the systems, other systems are designed to understand yourself. This was intentionally developed for sales, to understand why people make a decision. What influences them to say yes, right? How many of you have heard that sales is just a numbers game? Show of hands. Anyone heard that? Right? And in order to get more yeses, you got to get more what? Fill in the blank. What do they tell you? No's. That's what we taught people in our sales program, right? Get thick skin, suck it up, buttercup. And ultimately, it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, well, wait, if I want more yeses, I don't want more no's, I want more yeses, right? And so what if there were a way that you could actually have this crystal ball? This is my 8-ball from when I was a kid, actually. But imagine it's a crystal ball that dropped from the ceiling and would tell me exactly what I need to say to the person across from me so that I could actually influence them, that I could have an impact and get them to make a decision that's aligned with what I had hoped for. How many of you would like to have that type of a crystal ball? That would be pretty powerful, right? So I wanted to back up into that because I think a lot of the difference when we start talking about this system, not only was it designed for somebody else, but it also doesn't put people in a box. That's not its intent. I know I learned the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, right? But the reality is people have different personality types. Do you think they want to be treated how I'm treated if they're different? No. You need to honor the platinum rule. Treat others how they want to be treated. And so this is a system that allows you to understand the values from the other person's perspective so that you can connect, you can relate, you can have influence with them in a powerful way that you can get the outcomes you hope for. So with this, there are 4 types, but think about this. It's not just the 4 types, because there's actually 4 factorial, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. There's 24 different sequences. And think about this as like an ATM card. when you go to the bank and you put in a code, if you don't put in the right code, what happens? Nothing, right? You don't get any money out. And it's the same thing when you talk about personality. So the sequence is important, and the first two positions in your card sort are what influences you, what drives your decision-making behavior, okay? How you get somebody to the yes rather than a no. And then the third position is typically how you show up under stress, which is important to know. Because a lot of times, you know, people's head spins around. It's like Sybil when they're under stress, and you're like, what the hell? Like, who is this person? But when you understand that, you can actually connect with where they are, even when they're under stress, and still have influence with them. And then the fourth code is just the last position. It's just what's least important to you. But it's important to recognize those first two codes are really what influences somebody else in the decision-making process. And I would contend that, this is Robert Kiyosaki. Anyone ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Are you familiar with that? Obviously, cash flow quadrants, and you know, if you haven't read the E-Myth by Gerber, I mean, there's a lot of things with entrepreneurs. You're in the right place for this session because ultimately, I would support this. I mean, I have spent many years educating tens of thousands of executives and students in business programs. And if you don't sell something, are you in business? Do you have? No. I mean, you've got to be able to sell something. And so the number one skill is sales, and it's also about people. Because if you don't have people, you're not going to grow your business, right? Whether they're customers, whether they're employees as well. So with that, what happens though in sales is there's some staggering numbers, and this is from Salesforce. When you look at it in terms of the number of salespeople who miss quota, 67% of salespeople, these are people that are professionally trained, right? That are out there selling, doing this day in and day out, that miss their quota. 87% of those people don't feel adequately prepared for the sales conversation. Think about that. And then the worst statistic is they're turning off 66% of the people they talk to. How many of you have ever had a situation where you were talking to somebody, whether a sales or maybe just a conversation, where you recognize you probably turned them off? Ever happened? Or you didn't get a yes in the transaction, right? So pretty common experience. And what that happens when you think about that, and let me make this real to you. Think about, for example, the revenues that you had last year. If you're in business for yourself, or if you're an employee, your income, you know, whatever that is. Imagine basically spoon-feeding your competition 2/3 of that. Or on the flip side, if you could actually not turn off 2/3 of people, what would it be like to triple your income or your salary or your revenue? How cool would that be, right? So powerful when you learn how to get more yeses rather than more nos. And this is the staggering statistic from the Challey Group. Only 18% of buyers will buy from a salesperson who doesn't match the buyer's personality type versus 82% when the personality types are aligned. Think about that. So 2 out of 10, roughly, if it's not aligned, that's your odds, versus 8 out of 10 if you can actually align your personality type with somebody else in an authentic, genuine way where you're actually building a connection so that you can better serve them. And so ultimately, one of the things you've got to do is figure out who you're talking to, whether it's a prospect, whether it's a potential client, an existing client. And this translates to your personal life as well, right? Your husband, your wife, your kids, your mom, it doesn't matter who it is. Are you connecting with them? And are you allowing your prospect or the other person to determine how you interact with them and honoring the platinum rule and not the golden rule, right? And so when we talk about that, that's the most common mistake people make is based on my personality. If I am approaching other people how I want to be approached, and if you just, obviously random statistic, 1 out of 4 personality types, 25% of the time, 1 of the 4 people are going to be like me with my primary personality type, right? Versus the other 3 people that aren't like me, and I'm delivering the wrong message to them, and I'm turning them off and feeding my competition. So again, when you recognize this, it's really powerful. And I want to share just a quick story. This is somebody I started doing some strategic planning with for her company, and she had a 10-year exit strategy. And again, we were looking at that, and I said, you know what? And this was when I first learned about the system, and I started piloting. I was on the board for a local chamber and working with different companies to implement this. And I want you to hear what she said, but pay attention to the numbers she shares, because I think you'll recognize how that relates to what I just shared a minute ago.
Hi, I'm Joanna with the LG Group, and bank code has been astronomical for my business. We originally were onboarding 1 to 2 clients a month, and now we're onboarding anywhere from 7 to 9 clients a month. Because of the rapid growth, the unexpected rapid growth, not really truly 100% believing that this was going to work, we've actually now had to decrease our marketing budget because we have such a large influx of new clients. So it's been great. So we went originally from averaging about 25% of our sales close rate to now anywhere between 75 to 80%, and it's been great. Bank is the best. You should definitely try it.
So I share that. You heard the number, right? 25 to like 75, 80%. That is exactly what you see time and time again when you're working with organizations to do this. And the best part of it was her 10-year plan, because of that, became a 3-year plan, and she exited, and now she's got a ranch in Idaho and living her life like she wants to, what she imagined she would be able to do, right? Yeah, question. No, they're not. But I was just sharing that as an example. We don't have enough data yet on this. There's several 100,000 people that have completed this, but it will depend on, obviously, a lot of factors in terms of country and also types of occupations and industries and a lot of other factors. But would love to be able to answer that sooner than later, but to be determined. So bank has the power to transform not only your revenue, but your relationships, and countless stories, because when you learn this, you will start thinking about people you know. And based on the report you just received, I invite you to think about your own code, because in a minute we're going to talk through each of the different personas and allow you to recognize not only in yourself, but in other people. Like, who do you know that epitomizes a blueprint, an action, a nurture, or a knowledge? Because once you have that framework, then you've got that baseline that you can start identifying other people. Because ultimately, again, people don't know how much you care until, well, they don't know how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And you show your caring by honoring who they are and what's important to them, what they value. And that's the beauty of this. You're not going in with one presentation. And this shows up in sales, of course, in pitching. Like, who are you pitching to? Any of you see The Wolf of Wall Street? Remember that movie? Like, and remember he pulls out that pen and says, "Sell me that pen." Like, okay, how would you sell that pen to somebody? The question is, do you have a pitch to sell that pen, or do you understand who you're selling that pen to? What are their pain points? What's important? What do they value? So you can understand how to connect with them in a way that they're going to say yes, right? And that's the beauty of this. So you can adapt, and it's really honoring the idea of flexibility and resilience and not putting you in a box, recognizing that the goal is to have a growth mindset that you can actually, as a human being, yes, we have neuroplasticity, you can train your brain, you can rewire it, and you can step out of your comfort zone and step into different personas at any point in time in a way that's genuine to yourself. So with that, I want you to think about this concept of being a lens, really, through which we can see others. And as we see others and we honor who they are, it's really about emotional intelligence. It's about understanding ourselves, regulating our own emotions, understanding other people, and being able to connect with them in a way that is honoring their values. It's that social interpersonal interaction, and that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with. And particularly, and I'll share this, because a lot of people that are certain personality types don't always get the respect or the visibility that they deserve, and we'll talk more about that when we go through the codes. But again, it's really a tool to do that, and it's a way to listen, to relate, and understand. I don't know if you've read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, any of you? It's an older book, right, Stephen Covey? Seek first to understand, and then be understood. So are you listening? There's a reason we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So we need to be paying attention to who we're actually interacting with to be able to build stronger connections with them. And so I'm going to walk through some of the personality types to help you understand the lens that they're seeing the world in. So as we step into the blueprint, think about a box for a minute. Okay, like a box. I'm inside of a box. A blueprint, obviously, architects, you've got a blueprint, you've got a foundation, you've got a plan to build a structure. They value stability, they like predictability. They like systems. If you've heard the acronym for systems, save yourself time, energy, money, and stress. a system allows you to do that because you can get predictable results. You can be more efficient in the process. And so they value things like rules. Rules are meant to be followed because they're inside the box. These are the people that dot the I's and cross the T's. So be thinking about whether it's you or somebody you know who exemplifies that. They like credentials. They value tradition and routine. Why? Because it's predictable, right? They don't want to be outside of the box. They want to know what they can count on. And they also value that loyalty. Again, there's predictability, there's stability in that. So incredibly loyal. And how this shows up in terms of sales. Think about a blueprint. Again, in the sales experience, they tend to be guarded and somewhat skeptical again because they're not sure about who you are. They're very budget conscious as well, right? Budget, if there's something outside of their budget, it's a no-go, okay? Because they really stick to a budget. They will shop around for quotes, and again, when they choose you, they're going to be incredibly loyal because they like that stability and predictability. And there's some strategies to know then. If you think about those values, how does that show up in terms of how you need to behave with a blueprint personality? You've got to make sure that what you're doing, that it's detailed. Again, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Is it in writing? Is it documented? There's a budget, and they're not always going to be the one to tell you. So you've got to be careful and figure that out. And you also be able to support why you have the price you have. And a blueprint, again, because they want predictability, they value, and they're very professional. Blueprints are the type of people that being on time is 15 minutes early, right? It's like I ran track in high school, and if you weren't in the starting blocks and that gun went off, you're disqualified. And that's what happens when you have a blueprint that you show up late for, because you've lost your credibility and trust with them. They don't respect that because you're not respecting their time because they want to be efficient. And so, again, the one thing that a blueprint wants at all costs is to avoid risk. When you think about all those things I was just talking about, all the systems and processes and predictability and planning, all that does is allow them to avoid risk. So in the sales process, you need to help them understand that you follow a process and that by working with you, they can avoid risk and they can actually be in a better position maybe than they are right now. And you also want to make sure that you're prepared, of course, because they expect that of anybody to be professional. And you want to be polite yet formal. Of course, you want to be professionally dressed because that's how they're going to be dressed. And again, just being organized and systematic is really important for a blueprint personality. So everybody have somebody in mind thinking about a blueprint that you know, whether it's yourself or whatever? Okay. And think about one thing that maybe the next time, if it's not yourself, although it could be your self-talk, that you might do differently the next time you encounter a blueprint based on some of these strategies. So with that, we're going to turn it over to another framework, persona, the action.
And before I go on to the action, how many of you here have figured out your blueprint by raise of hands? How many of you have figured out your blueprint? Well, I tell you what, I'm going to talk about the next personality, and opposites will attract, and they attack. So let's listen to what a action personality looks like, especially because an action personality, think about it, who are they? They are the movers and the shakers, the millionaire makers in their own mind. Oh. They're the fun ones. You will see them before you hear them. They love freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, and action. They are the ones looking for opportunity. When you say, man, you can make some money, you can do this, we got this, the bottom line is this, I'm in. What are you selling? That is an action personality. Are you seeing the difference between you and an action? They love excitement. They love attention. They need stimulation, and they are all about competition. You come in second, you are not the winner. All right? They love winning. They love fun, and image is very important. When I work with a lot of C-suite executives, this is important to me because for an action personality, from head to toe, it's all for show. And when I see that they're in action, the first thing I need to do is switch my glasses. Because you're going to learn later, I'm truly a nurturing. I am not an action personality. With action personalities, this is what you need to know about them and sales. They love sales. They're the ones that says, I can sell ice to Eskimos. That's their attitude. You will find actions in sales because why? They buy quick when you can give them the bottom line. When it comes to the box, Dr. Eric said the blueprint personalities are inside the box. Action personalities say this, what the hell is a box? Get me out of that box. We use the color red. Why? Because that is the carpet that actions want to walk on. Yeah, you get it, blueprint. They go with their gut. They go with their gut when they make decisions to buy. They go with their gut when they make decisions to buy into you. Yes, I pick on people when I talk, okay? But that's okay. We just smile. Spend top dollar to get the highest and the best, especially when you offer exclusive offers to them. Unique is what sells them. With an action personality, some of the strategies. You know, sometimes you think, well, you get who I am and I show up with what I want. With an action personality, I need you to understand that they are looking at the whole picture. So when you show up to an action office, don't be coming in with your slippers and ripped jeans, unless it's a designer. All right? Because they are looking at the whole package. How many of you have actually shown up to a sale? You did everything that you thought they needed, and the answer was no. Or, let me think about it. With an action personality, before you're even done, they already have decided whether they're going to do business with you or they're going to say, not this time. This is how you know you've lost the attention of an action. They pick up their phone and they're scrolling through the internet. That's one indication that you've lost their attention. Atmosphere does matter. Ask for the yes fast. If they say, hey, Mamie, I'm in, pull out your application and say, give me your autograph. And then give them the details in writing. Got it? That's how quick a sale could be made with an action. Go big or go home. You've heard this before, yes? That is the motto of an action. Social media, up to date. Because guess what they're doing before they come to meet you? They're checking you out on Facebook and they're checking you out on LinkedIn. Sell the dream and the sizzle and go with the flow. They want simply the best. All right? With an action personality, what you want to keep in mind is they go fast. And if you're not with them, they're not going to stick around. All right? With the nurturing personality, they don't use the lens of red. We use the color yellow. Why? Because they are the rays of sunshine. And they have a heart of what? Gold. They are the ones that will stand there and give you the shirts off their back. With a nurturing personality, we have a different kind of currency. You guys know what currency that is? It ain't money. It's people currency. Thank you. When you deal with a nurturing personality, it's about eye contact and connection. Because your eyes are the window to what? Your soul. And if I don't feel it, you're going to have to work for my business. Got it? Now, I want to also put to rest, there's a myth. Oh, nurturing people, we lay down and let you run us over. Yeah? We give you the shirts off our back. This is my motto. Please do not mistake my sweetness for a weakness, because I will take you down and smile while I'm doing it. That's a nurturing. But not all nurturings are like that. What I want you to remember is this. Nurturings pride themselves on building relationships and building community. They are authentic. They believe in significance and teamwork. Community is a big deal for them. When they do business with you, this is what they want to know. How are you impacting the world, and what difference have you chose to make? They're looking for that. Are you seeing the difference between all three so far? We want different things. There's importance in the values that we bring to the table. Is that making sense so far? Okay. Ethics, harmony, morality, and contributions are all values that we stand on. How do nurturings feel about sales? We're uncomfortable. We give it all away until we realize that what we can give away could save a marriage, save a person's life, or make a difference, and $1. With bank, this has really helped me to understand my knowledge husband, because opposites attract. And you'll hear about that in a moment. You know, when it comes to sales, this is my husband. How many of you know Valentine's Day, yes? Nurturing. Oh, I'm going to have chocolates. I'm going to have flowers. My husband shows up with a box of goo. I'm like, what the hell is that? He goes, oh, my God, you should see. You're going to put your foot in here, and, you know, Mom, you have bad back. You've got a protruding disc and a ruptured disc. This is going to help you. I'm like, where's my flowers? He goes, you know, flowers die. I'm like, okay. I said, okay, where's my chocolate? He says, oh, chocolates make you fat. And I look at the goo and I go, and what the hell is this goo going to do for me? Yes? Well, this is the diversity of all four personalities. He says, humor me, Mom. Step in the box. So I step into the box, and I'm like, is this what's supposed to make me feel good? Well, you know what it was? That piece of goo was my orthotics. So always brings. It was going to be an orthotics that would help me not have to go through surgery, because that was the last result. So his mind, flowers and chocolates meant nothing to actually helping me walk for the rest of my life. Big difference, yes? I've been married to him for 43 years. Ain't going to change that at all. And I understand why he does certain things. That is the power of understanding, buying into you and buying from you. I bought into my husband, whose knowledge. We are uncomfortable with sales, but we take every opportunity to connect. We purchase on intuition. Feels right, looks right, I'll do business with you. But if you hear a nurturer go like this, I just can't put my finger on it, what do you think the answer is going to be? Answer is no. Answer is definitely no. Authenticity and belonging is what we strive for. With strategies, how you can work with nurturing is this. Connect first, sell second. Establish the connection first, and then sell me. That means that you're going to need to give us a little bit more time. Okay? Get personal, sell the story. We don't care about the facts. We want to know the story. Show how you can make a difference in the world, and do unto nurturing as they will do unto you. And don't be afraid to give hugs and ask for referrals. We are the best referral givers, because when we know, like, and trust you, we will go out and tell everyone we know that you've made a difference. Show up in wolf's clothing. What did I say? I will take you down and smile while I'm doing it. That is a nurturing. And we help build businesses. Every personality has its contribution. And I'm going to give you the opportunity. How many of you believe you're nurturing by raise of hands? Awesome. That means you lead with your heart. How many of you again believe that you are a action personality by raise of hands? I'll give you the bottom line later, okay? And our blueprint personalities, they want the details. Now I'm going to introduce you back to Dr. Eric, and he's going to come and talk to you about the smartest people in the room, so hopefully you'll be able to raise your hands then.
All right, so the knowledge personality type. So as we talked about, the blueprint is in the box. The action's blasting out of the box. The nurture recycles the box. And the knowledge, these are the people that think out of the box, or they invent the box, or they're like, well, wait, why do we need a box? Like maybe it should be a geodesic dome, or maybe it needs to be a sphere. I don't know. But these are the people, the visionaries. They're the idea generators. And these are the people that value information above all else. That's their currency. It's not money. For nurturer, it's relationships. For a knowledge type, it's about the information. It's about intelligence. It's about learning and logic. It's about science and self-mastery. It's about universal truths. It's about research and development. It's about making sure that you have an opportunity to understand, sorry about that, the big picture. They can see the big picture, and they also value above anything accuracy and competence. And with that information, they expect accurate, truthful information. Different motto than what Mamie shared, but my motto is in God we trust, everyone else bring me data. Right? That's what's important. I want to make a data-driven decision. I want that information, and I want to know that I can trust your expertise. So those are some of the things. And how this shows up in terms of how knowledge types feel about sales, well, similar to a blueprint in some ways. You know, when you think about a blueprint and a knowledge, they're both very intellectual in their head, whereas an action and nurturing are really in their heart or emotion in terms of what's driving them. So knowledge types are uncomfortable with sales because they want to take a logical approach. They want to do their research. Knowledge people are repelled by emotion. And some of you may have been Trekkies in the day, like, you know, it's like Dr. Spock, like emotion doesn't compute, right? It's like, no, because when emotion's high, logic is low, and the opposite, right? And so it's repulsive when someone gets all emotional, like what's going on? Like, you know, it's about control, and knowledge types take a long time and to decide about something, but they'll sell themselves when they have done the research. You got to give them the space and time to do that. And they will ask a lot of questions. Why? Because they want to make an informed decision. They don't want to make a mistake. Again, a knowledge type typically have a quest for perfection. So they'll have lots of questions in order to avoid a mistake. And in terms of strategies to sell to knowledge, because they value knowledge, they value research and development, innovation, things like that, you've got to be tech savvy. You've got to be at least competent in terms of that, because you'll earn their respect that way. You got to defer to their expertise and expect them to correct you. And if there's a typo on a slide or in a document, they're going to be the first one to point it out, right? How many of you identify with a knowledge personality type in here? Okay. So again, it's just who they are. So don't take it personally. And if you have too much information, it can also overload them. Because if they don't have enough time to process it all, you've got to be cautious of that they can make sense of it to then be able to act on it. And they're going to ask tough questions. And again, don't take it personally. Because again, they're just on a quest for information. If they're asking some blunt, candid questions, that's just who they are. And it's important to recognize that. And because they take forever sometimes to decide, it's often not going to be a one-call close. Unless you know this system, then you can do that. But most of the time, or if you're a knowledge, and when I say that, you know, as you step into that and understanding how to meet them, your likelihood goes up astronomically, your ability to close that sale more quickly. And you want to make sure you're not BSing with the knowledge, because they will sniff it out. They'll know. Because again, you know, if you're knowledge, that's one thing, but often they're the smartest person in the room. And they'll let you know that. They may not share something that you just said that was inaccurate, but they're thinking, well, what a frickin' idiot, right? They won't say that to your face, but that's what's going on in their head. Like, really? Okay, that's interesting. So at any rate, those are some strategies to be aware of when it comes to a knowledge type. And you can see the differences now between the different personality types and how they show up. And you might recognize, again, somebody that you know that is a knowledge, or yourself, something here that maybe you can take away with you that you could do differently the next time you're talking to a knowledge. And imagine what that conversation would be like, or maybe even an encounter you had with a knowledge where you got the no. Because again, chances are you're going to get a no from a knowledge more often than any other code. At least one, if they don't have the time to process it. Because again, they don't make quick decisions. So that's the knowledge personality type. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mamie, who's going to share with you a couple things about the AI. And actually, as we talk about the AI, what's really cool is they've translated this methodology. Again, as I said, any folk can complicate things, but it's a genius to simplify it. They involved Neil Sahota, who created IBM Watson, 20-some patents, and they just actually got another patent at Codebreaker Technologies this year, where they can actually do this at scale with large organizations, hundreds of thousands of people, and being able to do that if you've got people logging into systems and wanting to know who they are, if you've got membership communities or what have you. But he's an advisor to this company, and using, obviously, some natural language processing and some other systems and algorithms, has built an AI, and they're enhancing that again this year. So it's already a game changer, but it's going to be even more of a game changer, and I think you'll see why in a second. So as she's pulling this up, a couple things about the AI. Think about anything you do in terms of documentation. Think about your ability to take your voice and actually listen to something somebody says. And actually, this was what, at the United Nations, when they were doing the AI for Good, they went up to a gentleman and said, just give us one or two sentences who we are. And he talked into the phone, and actually then they pushed the button, and then they had him sort what in effect you did digitally, which are using these physical cards. They had him do that. And he sorted the cards, and then he said, okay, look at the order of that, and they showed him the phone. He's like, oh, it matches. Pretty cool. And so with documents, you can upload files, you can use voice, you can go on to different things, Facebook or whatever websites. As you're optimizing your messaging, there's a science behind every word you use. And it's not something that most people are aware of, but you're constantly transmitting your values. And so with LinkedIn, are you showing up? How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, the majority of you do. And the question is, are you attracting who you want to be attracting? And there are some marketing messages that you look at, and sometimes when I'm working with a digital marketing company or agency, looking at websites they're creating or brochures or flyers or even social media posts, looking at who's this going to appeal to? And are they appealing just to one particular persona or customer avatar? Or in effect, are they speaking to a broader audience? And it's almost like you can think about these almost as different languages. Years ago, I read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, John Gray. Like, this is almost like that, but it's based on personas and underlying value system. And it's almost that different, like a blueprint speaking English, an action speaking Italian, a nurturer speaking French, and a knowledge speaking Spanish. Like, if you're not multilingual in terms of who you're speaking with, your ability to connect and have a relationship and build the know, like, and trust, because that's what people buy from, right? People who know, like, and trust you, is going to be diminished. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Doctor. With our AI, we went through the 4 personalities that we explained to you, yes? So we took those value-based personalities and inserted it into our artificial intelligence. And this is a Chrome extension that we do work with LinkedIn with. In fact, we have another iteration coming out. But basically, it's pretty simple. That extension is loaded, and you can see here it says click to decode the personality. And what happens is it goes ahead and it decodes the LinkedIn personality. Oh, hold tight. Let me see what happened. So it decodes the personality, and what it does is it gives us insight into the person that we want to do business with. You know, yesterday we shared that when we did this with one of our companies who wanted to go and get investors, what he did was he used our AI to come in and code all of the stakeholders. So he knew how to present. Remember we said, Tony Robbins said, let your prospect determine your presentation. And so what we did was he was able to get the codes of 15 of the stakeholders that he was going to present to. And basically he came in, he found out that this is the code. And yes, people do have other people write their codes. We understand that. And so this gives us an idea on where we can start. So they did research on LinkedIn, and then we went out and took a look at their emails and their text messages to see what the codes are, and then we combined it. This man, he was looking for funding to actually fund his adventure, and he is an actual creator. So what he did was understanding each of the personalities here gave him the opportunity to then put together the proposal that actually landed him his funding. And not only did he land the funding, the man said, I've never heard anyone hear or see the company that we represent. And it's because we were able to see who and what was important to each of the companies they were presenting to. And in 10 minutes, while he was doing his presentation, we got a text that said, oh my God, Mamie, we hit a home run. They got the funding they wanted, and the angel funder also wanted to purchase the company. Is that good or good? That good, eh? And so what happens is in this tool, we have the ability to crack the code. And yes, we had questions about scraping. When we worked with LinkedIn, we were looking at information that is out there on the public. That's why we were able to actually synthesize this. So it tells us exactly what it is, and that's how it goes back to, that's how we're able to then code and then use that information. How many of you can actually imagine going into a interview, going into a business meeting using this tool? All based on value sets. That's what this is all about. And when we actually presented this out there, we actually touch multiple industries. We work with realtors. Stats there, a realtor, 37% increase buy and sell to 86%. That's documented. For me, I used this when I went to Thailand. I had 90 minutes to speak to over 1,000 people. And in that 90 minutes, 997 people joined my business. Is that good or good? And I know Dr. Eric is getting the wheel ready. So if you want to sit down, I'm going to go ahead and just give you the story. After 90 minutes, this is what I did. And hopefully you'll hear the codes. I said, for those of you who loved what you saw and you're ready to do business with me, please, what's your name? Pima. Pima, raise your hand. Please go see Pima in the back, and he will take your autograph. People picked up their things, went back, and spoke with Pima. Okay? How many of you can see that we're in this business to make a connection and a difference in the world? You see Erin in the back? Erin, raise your hand. Erin raises her hand. Everyone who'd like to make an impact in the world and a difference, I'd like you to go see Erin, because Erin will give you what you'll need to make that difference. Awesome. Stood up and they went back. For those of you who can see the systems and the structures that we've put in place and the organization that we're going to bring to the table. If that's you, go ahead, pick your things up. And what I'd like you to do is go see Sam. Sam, please raise your hand. Please see Sam in the back, and he will give you the details. Who's left in the room, guys? knowledge. All right, guys. The rest of you who are sitting here, I know you've got a lot more questions for me, so let me take off my headsets because I'm going to give you 30 minutes of my time, and I'll answer any questions that you have. Took off my headset, put it down. And before we get started, let's see. Jessica, could you please give the audience the handout? Because on that handout is all the data and the URLs that you can use to do your own research. But you got 30 minutes of my time. Went ahead. How many of you could hear the 4 different personalities? That is what we were able to do. Now, Doc here, he's got the wheel spinning. And as he calls your name, you're going to be able to come up and take any one of our, just take one of our prizes here. We got a 10X book. I've got one of my, 2 of my books. This is one of mine. I wrote on ROI, so I'm a co-author in this one. We've got speaking secrets, hiring secrets, and professional communication. And I got one bank shirt. And while Doc is doing that, he'll call the names.
So, Aaron Rose, you got to be present to win. Come on up. Awesome.
All right. Go ahead, Aaron. And if you've got any questions, raise your hand, and we'll also address that at the same time.
Yeah. This will take a few minutes. Not too long.
Yes.
What type of bias testing did you do with your AI algorithms?
I'm sorry?
What type of bias testing and what were the results did you do in your AI algorithm?
So we did have Dr. Howard actually write he's written 3 or 4 white papers. I'd be happy to send that to you. Yep. Okay, so we do have white papers that will substantiate that. And I'm going to be very honest and transparent, just in case you're in knowledge. I was not part of that team, so that's why I'm referring back to those papers. Fair enough?
Yep. Just real quick, Selena Thiel, if you're here, come on up, and I'll get another spin going. Go ahead with your other question, sorry.
How does this relate and differ from the challenger sale and the personas and different type of sales reps within that approach?
Well, so in each different personality system, there are definite differences. You'll see some similarities even to the labels when you start like action or driver or things like that. I think the big difference is based on the values that underlie that. And whether you're talking spin selling, consultative selling, challenger sales, Sandler sales, I mean, they all have different methodologies. This is one that was geared and built for sales as well to understand the other person. And again, if you're interested in some of those, we've got some non-published things where we have comparative analysis where you can certainly look at that. Feel free. You've got our contact information on the flyer. Feel free to reach out to me. One of the studies, there's a buying center at San Francisco State University, Dr. Ryan Howell, who spearheaded some of the research specific to some of the different sales stuff that they were doing in that center. So Maureen Adams, are you here?
Thank you.
Maureen
Any other
Adams.
questions? Any other
Okay.
questions?
Maureen Adams, no. Okay. They have gotten the link and completed the report. They're left early. We've got a few more things up here. Jamie, looks like
While you're waiting-
Otterstetter.
There you go. If you want to take a peek at what the reports look like that you are going to be receiving, you will get a personal report. Looks like this. I've got 4 different reports out there. The other thing, too, that we didn't tell you about is when someone cracks
Selena
their
already got
code
one.
on our internet, we get the report that tells me how to talk to you. So there's 2 sides to that story, and you can take a look at it here.
Jada Pace, are you with us? Jada, going once, going twice. All right, I'm going to keep spinning. We'll remove Jada. Any other questions people have? Did we have? Oh, Maureen Adams, did we already? Nope. Maureen Adams, okay. A lot of people not here. I think it's the after lunch session, right? Yes, question over here.
So like the thing you did on LinkedIn where it like did their photo.
Carissa Nixon, come on up while she's doing that. Yeah, on LinkedIn.
Can you do that with like a spreadsheet of people or just one by one? You have to go through it?
It's one by one.
Yeah.
At this time, it is one by one.
Is that a service you guys offer? Is it a plug-in? Is it how?
Actually, if you want to see more on that, you have a free gift. If you'd like us to go through your LinkedIn personality, all you need to do is book an appointment. It's complimentary, and we'll show you what that does. And then we'll give you some tips and tricks to
Yep.
pull up your LinkedIn to make it client-facing for you.
Amy Marawa, are you here? Okay, and with that too, so this is a subscription-based thing where you can actually license it, and you can have a similar link where you can provide your clients or prospects with it. The other part of that that's a game changer when you compare it to all the other assessments is this is disruptive in the sense that most other assessments on the lower end, even maybe $15, $20, and some like predictive index could be $250, or the Berkman and whatnot. This is basically all you can give away, reports, all you can sort of digest. So literally you can drive down the cost, and this could be something that's used in a lot of different ways within a business because of that, which is not something you could possibly afford, providing those types of reports to people with those other assessment systems. Jack Wheeler, are you here? Yeah, awesome. Come on up. All right. Great questions.
It seems like a way better way to do it. Like I have a boss or an old boss, you know, who lives and dies on the disc assessment, you know, and to me it just, I've never personally related with that, you know, and this seems much more, you know, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler for people to grasp, and when you're training it, and there are some studies where, you know, when you can look at the ease by which people are trained and then their ability to actually apply it and remember it, you'll find yourself obviously looking at people differently moving forward because you have this framework in your mind. Andrew Arnopoulos, are you here? Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think one of the most frustrating things about the job search process is a lot of companies are moving towards some sort of a personality analysis, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, that diminishes diversity if they're using it as a hiring decision factor. But then what's also sadder is you're taking the assessment, but then the results of that assessment are never shared with you. They're not used in the workplace. And there's only been one company that I went to where, about 2 or 3 weeks after I started, they went through my assessment with me, and then they also handed me my manager's assessment. And that was really insightful because it allowed me to find a better way to communicate and update my manager.
Absolutely.
But nobody else does that, right? That was the one and only company that ever did that.
That's
And
impressive.
we are actually using it in hiring processes with some of the companies. And the difference is they are looking at it from a values-based perspective instead of a skill-based perspective, because skills comes with all 4 of those personalities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jeff Preston, are you here? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, yes.
Okay.
I'd love to talk to you about that because
Yeah.
the process was streamlined pretty.
And we actually have a workshop. We do complimentary workshops each month on different topics. And so on your sheet, you'll see one on hiring strategies. William, are you here?
So
William
please,
Eales.
if you'd like to join us, our
Had a lot of people
once a
leave.
month,
All
it
right.
is complimentary to help you and your businesses. And Dr. Eric and I are also available for consultations if you'd like.